This program is a collaboration of personal opinions and individual free thought. It does not represent the views or narrative of the mainstream corporate media hacks. Viewer discretion is advised.
And here we go.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have an echo. Oh, something weird's going on. Something weird is going on.
Share your laptop?
It's something to do with all the freaking settings and shit. It's coming out this monitor, one of these monitors. It's so freaking awesome. It's awesome when things don't go right. Welcome to the Break the Bell podcast. I'm going to try to figure out how to get this. That's not it. Why is it coming? It's not there.
No, it's not.
All right, time out. Still, I blame you.
I blame you too. There we go.
I got it. Got rid of it.
All right.
We got monitors, and my audio settings are all screwed up and everything. But we are here.
Yes.
That's all that matters.
And it's fixed.
It's fixed now. Eventually, we'll figure it out. Derek says, so much silence. Hey, Derek, you said that while I was struggling to get the intro music to play. And then once the intro music played, I was like, man, I wish it was silent again because everything else was screwed up. So, but we're here. We got it fixed and we're figured out. You'd think by, it's been, 3 years we've been doing this? We'd have our shit together, but nope.
Surprise.
No, we don't. We still don't have our shit together, but that's all right. Speaking of people not having their shit together,
Right?
would you be surprised to hear that there was like a military struggle in West Africa, like a coup in West Africa?
Isn't that like Tuesday?
Yeah, right. Exactly. It's like, why is the media paying so much attention to this one? I mean, there's been for the last 3 years, like the entire western side of Africa has been a military coup. And
Right.
before that, probably the entire rest of the continent of Africa. So, why the fuck does it matter? Why does it matter that Niger? That's how you pronounce it too, Niger. It's not Niger. It's not Niger. It's not
The other words.
the other word. It's Niger, apparently, according to Google and CNN and other companies.
Probably gonna check that out.
What's that? Yeah, I had to look it up because at first I was just gonna throw the N-bomb out there all episode long. It's just like the country of
we're there.
I remember when my son was it was probably 2 years ago, so he would have been like 10, and he was going through like, I don't know, he's reading through something for like social study or history class or world geography or something, and he went and read that country, and he's like, I don't know where he even heard the word before. He's like, Dad, did you know there's a country of and he drops the N-bomb. I was like,
Yeah.
no, there's not.
That's not
There's
it.
That's not it. But good on you, though, I guess. I don't know. We're going to be talking about that country. We should just bleep out
Yeah, right.
Niger. Every time I
Everything.
say it, just have like a beep.
Yeah.
Just bleep it out every time, just to prove a point. But I don't know. Like, we're talking
Yeah.
about it, obviously, but
Right.
that's because like it's all over the media. It's just a country, as Donald Trump probably would call it, a shithole country
Right.
and a shithole continent. It's like, I feel like they're paying more attention to Niger than they did to Haiti, which is like
Yes.
next door. Likely next door.
Well, and
Because Haiti they paid attention to for like 3 days.
yeah.
And it was like hardcore for 3 days. But this one's been going like an ongoing kind of discussion for at least a week now, which is a long time in the 24-hour news cycle.
Well, it's because I think that we were allowed to screw up Haiti. And Africa kicked us out before we're able to totally screw it up.
Did we? I mean, maybe it's not us that screwed it up. I mean, it was originally a French colony.
Yeah, well,
and
you know how French colonies go.
And I feel like the French screwed it up. So,
yes.
Haiti
was also at one point a French colony.
Haiti was. Oh, that's right. So I don't know. Maybe
it's a French thing.
I don't know. I just know, like in the past, we've talked about how Africa is kind of going to be the new playing ground. Because what was the country in Africa that like the entire airport?
Uganda.
Yeah, China owns their.
They
their
couldn't
one
pay their
international.
debt, so China's like, you know what? We're just going to take this.
This is our airport now. It's kind of like the mafia. Just like, you couldn't pay for your protection, so it's ours now. We're taking over it, and we're going to make a percentage, probably all of it. They probably make.
And I do think that, without the news, actually coming out and saying it, Africa is like prime real estate right now.
Oh, absolutely.
Like everybody wants a piece of Africa.
I mean, there's got to be something there.
Yeah.
Besides desert.
Right.
Because I mean, there's got to be something they're not telling us. Because why the fuck do we all care so much about like arid wasteland in the middle of like the Sahara, what I can't even think of it. It's not even it's like borderlining the Sahara. It's like another desert.
Nairobi.
Yeah. But anyway, it's just like, why do we care? It's got to be the resources. It's got to be.
It's always the resources.
Maybe I thought maybe it was like strategically close to Russia. It's like, well, it's got to be like right, like in that area or like on the Mediterranean, like something strategic. It is landlocked directly in the like dead center of West Africa, not close to anything you would consider like a strategic landmark or like a waterway or anything like that. So it's like, why do we give a shit about that? There's something there. We're going to talk about it. We're probably not going to come to any specific answer, but we're going to at least pontificate on.
I like that.
On the reasoning why the West gives two shits about Niger. I mean, it's hilarious because now it's like Biden's coming out. It's like, oh, this is a threat to democracy in the region and blah blah blah. It's just like this is like one of the poorest countries in the entire globe, that we didn't give two shits about the humanitarian issues there. But now all of a sudden, this coup happens, which I gotta wonder if there's actually coups going on there, or people just get pissed off and they're like, oh, there's a coup, and it makes you ask the question, like, what's the determining factor whether a coup is a good thing against like a good thing? Like if there's a coup in Russia right now, you bet your ass we would be praising it, even though supposedly Vladimir Putin is an elected official there. But a coup against an elected official in Niger is a threat to democracy. It's like, what makes a coup a threat to democracy? Like, who determines that? Besides,
apparently the United States
and the NED. Mostly.
Yes. So it's in the name.
But I don't know. We'll keep. We'll that for now.
Yeah, because I'm sure we'll come back around to that.
Yeah. So it's hilarious to me because this is like bigger than J6 in Niger right now. And J6 was a coup attempt that was a major threat to democracy. But the Revolutionary War was a coup attempt that was not a threat to.
It was against tyranny.
Exactly. Right? So
and anymore, I just have to groan and roll my eyes whenever I hear, well, it's a threat to democracy.
I just want to be like, just leave them the fuck alone.
Right. Let them do their thing.
And it's like we'll get into all this. They're not even hiding it anymore, because you don't see, like, in any of the articles that I've been reading, there's nothing about like this humanitarian crisis, all these, like, you know, how they used to play it up like, well, there's going to be all this like migration and like all these starving people that need humanitarian aid. We got to go in, blah, blah. No, it's just like, no, this is like a blow to the West in Africa. It's like they're not even they're not even covering it up anymore. It's like, fuck them.
Yeah.
We just need that space right there.
Yeah. If they're not coming around, then we're not giving them food.
It's like, if they die, who fucking cares?
Right.
We'll get into that more often or more later. Before we do, obviously we gotta say we are on social media. We are on X, formerly known as Twitter, which is what apparently all the news stations are calling this X, formerly known as Twitter.
Great. Beautiful.
It's so it's just annoying.
Yeah.
Because I mean, it's still twitter.com. So, but yeah, every like CNN, everybody's like, he said on X, formerly known as Twitter. It's like, just fucking call it Twitter.
Right.
But we are on X, formerly known as Twitter. You can find us at our X handle, formerly known as Twitter handle, at Break the Bell Pod. We're also on Facebook. We have a Facebook forum called the Breaking the Bell Forum, or you can just go to our Facebook page, which is also the handle at Break the Bell Pod. You can buy some kick-ass merch, which we should have like a, I don't know, Save Niger shirt or something like that.
Yes, I like it.
Why don't we have that?
Yes.
Go to our website, breakthebellpod.com. You can get access to some kick-ass merch. You can find the links to everything that I just talked about there in like 2 seconds ago, to all our social media pages and stuff. Like, subscribe, share, buy our shit, because it would make us feel really good about ourselves.
And it'll make you feel good.
And you'll look awesome. You'll look cool.
Yes, it's very
You'll make us feel good about ourselves, because that'll make us feel like we're cool.
Yes.
So do it. Share it, subscribe, and buy shit. I mean,
maybe we should. Can we send a bunch of shirts to Niger?
We should.
Yes. Maybe we should make shirts that say "Save Niger" and send them to Niger.
Send them to Niger. Yes, Niger.
Sorry.
Niger. I can't even say that.
No, Niger.
We're gonna get right into the show, because we kind of got way off track. Not off track. We're way on track.
Yes.
So we need to get into this intro so we can stay on track, and talk about this coup in what do we call it? Niger.
What did you say?
You talking to me?
What the heck are you talking about?
What did you say?
What did you say? What did you say?
Are you talking to me?
Are you talking to me? Are you talking to me?
What are you talking about? What are you talking about?
What are you saying?
What did you say?
Are you talking to me?
Well, maybe he was talking to me.
What did you say?
Talk to me.
What in heaven's name are you talking about?
Talk to me, baby.
Did you just say?
What did you say?
You listen to me. Are you talking to me?
Are you talking to me?
What the hell are you talking about? Who are you talking to?
We're back. The sound is working now, I think. Nobody's told us it's not working.
Nobody's complaining.
Nobody's complaining, but maybe that's because, like, thank God we can't hear him.
I know. Woo.
Like, we just come for the music.
Yeah.
Talking about another small country on the other side of the world that we shouldn't have our fingers in, I'm sure.
Right.
The reason they're as poor as they are probably is because we somehow had our fingers in there to begin with. Or not, I'm not talking just the US, but the West, like Western culture, like
Yes.
that likes to like meddle in those smaller regions.
Yes.
and play their proxy games there, their
Yes.
proxy wars there,
Yes.
fuck up the economy, and then be like,
it seems like anymore one proxy war is not good enough. We got to have 3 or 4 going.
oh
at
yeah,
one time,
obviously.
right?
I mean, to keep people. I mean, it's like the TikTok
Yes.
generation. It's like our attention spans are so short. It's like we gotta throw all these different. We can't just focus on one proxy war. We've got to have like 8 different ones to throw out at a time.
Yes.
To make things really count, I guess.
Absolutely. Well, and it's a nice little shell game, right? Which one are we supposed to watch?
Exactly. So another coup. Again, is it a coup or is it like a part of me? And we'll talk about it. It's like this government does not fully support the people. It supports like the Western colonizers, which is what they're actually saying. And like, we don't want to do that. We want to focus on the people. So this has now become like a jihadist, terrorist coup plot, whatever, military. I don't know.
Yeah, because they deposed the puppet French leader. And
Was he French?
Yes, yeah, he was French.
I didn't know he was French.
Yes.
So, I mean,
yeah.
So, it's kind of like when any of the countries that we put puppet leaders in and the people rise up and they're like, we don't like him, and they fucking kill him, and we're like, that's a threat to democracy. It's like, but is it?
Yeah, right.
It's like when the people, with the rule of the people, democracy, when the people are like, we don't like you, you need to leave. No. Okay, we're going to kill you.
Yeah.
Or arrest you or banish you or whatever. How can you call that a threat to democracy?
Right.
Like, again, who determines that?
Right.
Like, which people?
Right, exactly. Well, anymore, if it's a threat, if it's something that doesn't align with the United States, it's automatically a threat to democracy.
Obviously, because we are
that's the only democracy that matters anymore, right?
If it contradicts what we got going on, then it's a threat to democracy. Derek says if the CIA organized it, it's not a threat to democracy. Right. All right. Or the NED, which is the CIA.
Basically the CIA.
Basically the CIA. So this one, either A, was not organized by the CIA, or B, there's a bigger game at play that it was organized, but they want you to think that it wasn't organized by them, so we can get our freaking people in there and start another war.
Right.
But there is a good chance that it probably was organized by the. I don't. You see where I'm going here.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Like the good coup attempts could be orchestrated or the NED orchestrated, and the bad ones could be
from the people.
Because look at like I don't know, like Ukraine, for example. Like that one was, I mean, it's bad, but it's good, but it's good, but it's bad, but that was obviously NED.
Right. Yes.
Like the 2014 Ukrainian one.
That was
like that was one. I don't know. I can't get into all the coups.
Yeah.
And
There's many.
All the proxy coups that we've had our fingers in. It's probably most of them, the majority of them.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, and with a lot of these, and this goes back from when we were fighting against communism. It's like, well, this guy is taking all the money and leaving us impoverished and killing our kids. But he doesn't like Russia,
so it's okay.
So he's good with us.
Which one was that one?
Oh, name one.
Oh, well, look at like what was it, Gaddafi that we put there, and then we're like, no, we don't like this guy, and so we had him killed.
Most of the 80s guys. You know, most of the African or Middle Eastern or even South American guys, it didn't matter what else they did as long as they said, no, I don't like Russia.
Yeah, and then after the fact, they're just like, but I don't like you either. And we're like, we had a good thing going.
I know. Why did you have to?
We
come
had
out
a
and say
good thing
that?
going.
We were giving you money. You're supposed to like us if we give you money.
Yeah, so they have him killed. So this one is like today's coup is Niger, like we said, faced, according to early reports, faced a failed coup attempt, is what the early report said.
Okay.
Now, apparently, those responsible were not keyed in. They missed the memo that this was a failed attempt because they're still there.
Right.
The president is no longer the president.
Yes, he's in jail.
He's been arrested or whatever, what have you. And so these initial reports, I think it was from the government of Niger. It was in vain. It was failed attempt, and all of a sudden,
Says the guy that has the president in jail.
Yeah,
it was. They messed up.
Yep. So I'm going to pull this. This is one of the earlier reports. It says Niger presidency confirms coup attempt and says President Bazoum and his family is safe. So this was from July 26th. So this was like the early days of the coup
when it first started.
This is early era coup.
Okay.
Which we're talking like a span of like 5 days here. So a lot's happened in the last 5 days, apparently. Says the African Union, European Union, and Economic Community of West African States, which you're going to hear of this one a lot. It's kind of like the EU, but it's like Africa's EU.
Right. Yes.
Called ECOWAS. On Wednesday,
ring as well.
Condemned an attempted coup by some members of military in Niger. Now, it's always funny to me when these superpowers or like the EU or the United States comes out and publicly condemns the actions of another country. It's like, so what does that do?
Yeah, right.
It's just like, no, bad.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
Like, do you think the people that do the things that get condemned by the Western countries give two shits if the Western countries condemn them?
No.
Do you think
Not
Russia,
typically.
like how many times have we condemned Russia? How many times have we condemned the actions in North Korea?
Right.
And how often does it continue?
Right. Yeah.
I mean, there's at least a sanction. It's kind of like in school when you get your name written on the chalkboard. It's like, oh, gee, not that scary piece of chalk.
Yeah.
I had this student teacher. You remember student teachers back in the day?
Yeah.
They were students that were teachers that thought they held the power of a teacher, but they were also a student.
Yeah.
And every now and then the student teachers, like the real teacher would be like, you know what? I got a student teacher. I'm going to take the fucking day off.
Right.
Good luck.
Yeah.
And what usually what?
Oh,
how did the students treat those?
They destroy them.
Oh yeah.
Make them cry.
Exactly. I had one though that she started crying and she would just she would hold up the piece of chalk. Like she wouldn't even say anything. She'd just be like, hold up the chalk. Like she was going to write your name down. And it was like, oh, not the scary chalk. And that's how I feel like these countries are when like some of these other countries or the EU or whatever, is like, we're going to condemn you if you do that. It's like, oh, not condemn.
You can't sit at our lunch table anymore.
Right. Says Musa Faki Mohammed, the chairperson of the African Union Commission, strongly criticized the actions of some soldiers who attempted to undermine the stability of Niger's democratic and republican institutions through an attempted coup. Mohammed urged the soldiers to immediately cease their unacceptable actions. So this started out, I wouldn't say it started out, but the coup part began as like members of the military who were like, nah, we're not going to fucking do this anymore.
Right, yeah.
And it was like the president's guard, like direct guard, like members of the president's direct guard that were like, nope, we're not doing this anymore. And they like blocked off any access to the presidential quarters or whatever, and wouldn't allow anybody in or out. And that's how it kind of started up. It says earlier the Nigerian presidency confirmed that a coup attempt was carried out on Wednesday morning by soldiers who sealed off access to the official residence of President Mohamed Bazoum. It is the act of certain elements of the Presidential Guard who did not obtain the support of the National Armed Forces and the National Guard, the West African country's president said in a statement. Early Wednesday morning, elements of the Presidential Guard engaged in an anti-Republican mood movement and tried in vain to obtain the support of the National Armed Force and National Guard. So it sounds like off the bat, it sounds like these Presidential Guards were like, hey, you guys in on this? And the National Guard's like, nope. And then they went to like the army, like, hey, you guys gonna help us out? And they're like, nope. So I'm not sure what transpired between then and now, where like Wikipedia doesn't even list this guy as the current president of,
really?
Like it's gotten that far that even Wikipedia is like, nah, that guy's not the fucking president anymore. Military commander is listed as Niger's president.
Interesting.
Says Mohamed Bazoum and his family are reported to be in good health, according to the presidency. The Army and National Guard are ready to attack the elements of the Presidential Guard involved in the mood swing if they do not return to better. I feel like there's got to be some either mistranslation here, or this guy is really downplaying this fucking event.
I'm gonna say it's probably a mistranslation.
Involved in this mood swing if they do not return to better feelings, the presidency said. It sounds like a husband, a delusional husband, whose wife has legitimate concerns, and he's like, "You're just being freaking moody. Is it that time of month for you?"
Yeah.
What did they used to call it back? There was like a term that they would call women back then, or like back in the 60s. When they'd freak out. They're like, "Oh, you're just being." It's basically like moody or whatever. So it's just hilarious. If you don't return to better feelings, the National Guard is ready to attack all of these mood swings.
Wow, that's violent.
Mohammed called on the people of Niger, the continent, and the world to unite in condemning the coup attempt and demanding immediate and unconditional return of the felon soldiers to their barracks. Joseph Borrell Fontelas, the High Representative of the EU for Foreign Affairs and Security Policy, also condemned the attempt. Very concerned about the ongoing events in Niamey, or Niger's capital. The EU condemns any attempt to destabilize democracy and threaten the stability of Niger, he said via Twitter. The Economic Community of West African States, or ECOWAS, of which Niger is a member, also condemned the attempt to seize power by force. It demanded immediate and unconditional release of President Bazoum. Niger, a landlocked West African nation, has a tumultuous history with coups, facing various coups and coup attempts since gaining independence from France in 1960. The recent act by elite presidential guard has heightened concerns among citizens who have flooded social media, fearing potential coup attempts. Then it talks about like 5 or 6 other coup attempts since the 60s, and I don't really fucking care about that at this point.
Right.
Not right now, at least, anyway. So again, sounds like when you're very clearly not in control of what's going on right now, how are you going to come out and be like, this failed coup attempt?
Right.
Like you're not even in a position of power. Like you can't even leave your residence currently.
Yeah.
And you're like in the same sentence, you're like, if you guys don't go back home and get over these mood swings, we're gonna send the army after you. Right. But this was a failed coup attempt. Obviously, it's kind of like when the Wagner Group in Russia supposedly, quote unquote, attempted a coup in Russia, and then Vladimir Putin's like, nothing to see here. I mean, you don't want to look like you're the weakling.
They're projecting strength.
Yeah, you don't want your country to think that you're no longer in power, because as soon as the country thinks you're no longer in power, guess what?
Yeah.
You're no longer in power.
Right. You're not legitimate anymore.
So again, I'm not sure exactly what happened from that point until now, where it's just like we're gonna have to like send in troops from the other African nations or from NATO or the EU or something. Like obviously they again missed the memo and they're like, no, we're not going home. So it escalated from there. I don't know that it necessarily escalated, but it escalated at least in the president's mind. He started coming to the realization that this isn't working out in his best interest.
Yeah.
So,
from what I read, they've put a number of deadlines in place that the Republican Army was supposed to fall through with.
And how'd that go? How'd they go?
Yeah, they've kind of ignored it.
They said, fuck your deadlines. Yeah. We don't care about your deadlines.
Yeah.
So
Look at me. I am the captain now.
I mean, that's pretty much it. It's like, who cares about your deadlines? I'm in control here.
Yeah.
I wanted to just get into like, because I didn't even know where Niger was until looking this up. I knew it was in Africa, obviously. based on the name, it's obviously in Africa. But I didn't know where. I didn't know what they had, like what kind of government they had. I don't. I just.
Well, it
I'm an
changes
idiot.
often. It changes.
Well,
often.
obviously, clearly it does. It goes from democracy to like this is like its 7th military rule since like 1960 or something.
Yeah.
So, but it's also touted as like a major democratic success story in Africa, which I'm not sure exactly what they're basing that on.
Well, it's because the United States and France were in charge,
and the United States has like heavily military
and so
influence there.
that is
All of
considered
Europe
a
does.
success. When the United States owns you, you're considered a democratic
I
success,
guess.
right?
But when it's failed at least 7 times now in the last 60 years or 60 years, it's failed 7 times now.
Yeah.
Where are we getting this definition of democratic success? Because
whenever the people rise up and be like, we don't want you here, and then they put them down, they're like, it's a success.
but like here in the United States, the same people would be like, we're like a failed democracy because of blah, blah, blah. It's so corrupt here, blah, blah, blah. But then you go over there and it's like they hold their ground for maybe a year and a half. And they're like, oh, it's a democratic victory.
Right.
Yay. The people rule. They overcame that 6th military intervention. So again, I want to just kind of briefly go over a little bit of info on the Wikipedia about Niger. Like I said, if you look at who the government is, the current president is this Abdurrahmani Chiani, who is definitely not the guy that they listed as the president that was arrested. So even Wikipedia is like, no, this wasn't really a failed attempt. This was just pretty successful because they're listing the military.
Maybe Chichani's the one that got on there and said, I am the leader.
Obviously. So Niger, officially the Republic of the Niger, is a landlocked country in West Africa. It's a unitary state bordered by Libya and northeast Chad to the east, Nigeria to the south, Benin and Burkina Faso to the southwest, Mali to the west, and Algeria to the northwest. It covers a land almost 490,000 square miles, making it the largest landlocked country in West Africa. Over 80% of its land lies in the Sahara. Its predominantly Muslim population of about 25 million live mostly in clusters in the south and west of the country. The capital of Niamey is located in Niger's southwest corner. It's one of the poorest countries in the world. Some non-desert portions of the country undergo periodic drought and desertification. The economy is concentrated around subsistence agriculture, with some export agriculture in the less arid south and export of raw materials, including uranium ore. It faces challenges to development due to its landlocked position, desert terrain, low literacy rate, jihadist insurgencies, and the world's highest fertility rates due to birth control not being used and the resulting rapid population growth. Now, the worst part of all of this is if the West loses Niger, where is Bill Gates going to test his population control at?
Right.
Like,
exactly.
I mean, we got already got all these like population booms because they don't use birth control and probably the population control methods that Bill Gates has laid out so many times. And we've talked about how he's done a lot of so much testing in like
I believe
Africa.
they started testing the COVID vaccine probably there.
Most likely, yes. So
and all the AIDS vaccines that didn't work.
Yes, all of it started there probably. So we can't lose Africa because then Bill Gates's playground is closed to us. So we gotta hold on to what we can. I guess. Apparently, was controlled by France as a colony until 1960 when they gained their independence. Now, they gained their independence, but France had a lot of kind of dominant still there in the economy. Apparently, let me scroll down to that part, because apparently, maybe it's not in this one, but apparently, like, they still use like some form of the franc, which is also tied to the euro.
Okay.
Which they have to keep like 50% of their cash or their francs or whatever in a French like bank, in a French central bank.
Yeah.
And so there's obviously a lot of control that France still has. Yeah, you're independent, but you can't use your money unless it's flowing through us. You have to use our money, and it's got to flow through our banks. It's got to be held in our banks, and we have like pretty much 100% control of your money. But you're independent. That's fine.
We're gonna send you a lot of money, but we're gonna keep it in our bank.
Yes.
If you're good, you'll get some.
Let me see if it talks about it. Maybe that might have been somewhere else. But anyways, I would say it's still probably equivalent to modern day colonization. Yeah. How many countries, like the Western superpowers, can get away with saying that's our colony in Africa or South America or something? Yeah, I mean, you just can't say that anymore.
No,
that's like admitting to owning slaves still, or something. It's like it's a little bit frowned upon. So it's like, yeah, we're gonna grant you independence because that's what the cool kids are doing these days. But your entire economy is still gonna flow through our economy. And we want first rights to like all your minerals there, your oil exports, your uranium, and all that shit. We want access to, but don't worry, you're independent.
Yeah, right. You're your own country.
You'll even have your own constitution. You'll be able to elect your own leaders, but we have to approve them, obviously.
And you can do whatever you want. We just get to tell you when to go to bed.
Derek says, as long as this new guy gets me the money that the Nigerian prince promised me, I am cool with it.
That's
maybe
Nigeria.
That's Nigerian.
That's Nigeria.
That's Nigeria, not Niger.
Totally different.
Totally different. Yes. Anything else you want to know about Niger? Here's the location right here. So it's like dead middle of landlocked Africa.
And you got Algeria and you got Libya and the what's the Bonavicta?
I don't remember.
Anyways, Bonifasto. Yeah, not a lot of stability around.
No, they've all like been through their own coups.
Yeah, and are still
going through their own.
Unstable.
Yeah. How many of those coups have we even paid any gambit?
Right.
I think
maybe Libya, and that's
I think I saw Guinea last year. Guinea, like West Africa, like Guinea. I saw a report on the coup in Guinea last summer sometime, and that's as far as it went.
Right.
But most of these others I haven't even heard of, so I haven't seen that they were going through their own coups, and we haven't cared that they were going through their own coups, which tells me there's something very important here that we've got to be missing. Whether it's the uranium there, whether it's the location, it's got to. I mean, the location's key.
Is it the number one export? Isn't it the number one place where celebrities adopt their children from?
There's a good chance.
Like
that's
Angelina
probably
Jolie.
That's got to be
it.
It's like, where are we going to? Where are we going to traffic African children from for the celebrities?
Yes.
If we lose Niger, I don't know if that's where she got it from, but
I don't know either.
It's got to be something. It's got to be. Where are we going to bring all the Super Bowl whores from? I mean, we're losing a lot of our trafficking spots due to these coups.
Yes.
Like Haiti, big into trafficking.
Yeah.
Ukraine, we can't let Ukraine fall because there's a lot of human trafficking there.
Yes.
So, I mean, we got to keep as many of those trafficking countries on our side. So obviously we can keep them from trafficking. Clearly that's why, not because we want the control of the trafficking.
Freedom.
Because of freedom. Yes.
Kyle M says slavery with another face and name and face. Yep, exactly.
Pretty much, yes. Now it's interesting that not only is Wikipedia calling this how it is, that this wasn't a failed attempt, they're also calling this the 2023 Nigerian crisis already.
Wow.
We're already full-blown crisis.
That's quite
we
the
haven't
title.
even stopped. I still haven't heard our government call the Mexican border a crisis. Remember we did the Mexican border is a crisis episode, 2 fucking years ago?
Yeah, yep. Yeah.
And they're still not saying that.
And they went to the place where like not much was going, and they're like, oh, everything was good here.
Yeah. But now, after like 4 days of problems in this country, and I'm not downplaying what's going on there. I haven't heard really of like I haven't heard of people being like butchered or anything like that. Like I haven't heard of any genocide or just murdering the government official. Maybe that's all going on, and I just haven't paid that much attention. But full-blown crisis.
Right.
Like, I haven't even heard much of like people trying to like flee, like refugees or anything like that flooding out of Niger.
The only thing I had heard is because of the sanctions that were put on the country, it's really hard to get food and supplies there. Sanctions we've put on them.
Now, the reason for that is this. By law, I read this.
Mm-hmm.
This isn't something I know because I'm not smart. By law, once a coup like gets rid of a democratically, quote unquote, ruler or leader, whatever you call it, by law, the United States has to cease the humanitarian aid and military aid to that country by our own laws, unless they can somehow word it as it's necessary for our national security.
Right.
So I'm waiting for that.
Yeah.
I'm waiting for that to come down. It's like, well, it's obviously an issue of national security.
But wouldn't that suck for you if you live in the country and your government and military are having a pissing match and suddenly you can't get food?
Yeah. Yeah. It's like all this I can't, like, where was the humanitarian aid going? Because it's the poorest fucking country, one of the poorest countries in Africa or the world, actually. And all of a sudden we're like, you know what? We just can't give you food anymore because your government sucks. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, but our hands are tied. Our law says so.
And if you decide to become a democratically ran country again, we'll give you food.
How does it work that way?
I know, it's kind of shitty.
And what determines that another country is necessary for our national security here in the United States? Now, it's interesting because this country here is supposedly like a military, like a hub point in Africa for our fight against Islamic terrorism. And it's like, and I've seen that on several articles. I wonder if that's what they're trying to bring this up as a national security issue, because, well, where are we supposed to fight all these jihadists? How are we supposed to prevent 9/11 again if we don't have our hub there? We prevented all these 9/11s by having our hub in Niger. So I feel like that maybe that's...
I can see that.
Because when was the last time we gave two shits about freaking Islamic terrorists?
Right, yeah.
Probably 2016 and on.
Right.
You haven't really, besides the fact that they took back over Afghanistan after we left there.
Yeah.
But I don't even think you didn't even really hear it referred to as like Islamic terrorism, right? It was just the Taliban took back over, and they may have thrown Al Qaeda in there, but you don't even hear of jihad anymore.
Right. Yeah. There hasn't even been somebody who's run down people in France yet.
It's suddenly it's like, well, where are we going to fight the jihadists in Africa? It's like, I didn't even know there still was
jihadists.
Yeah, I thought we just didn't care about those. I thought it was Russia now, not jihadists. I thought we moved on.
Yeah.
So,
or domestic terrorists, right?
Well, obviously, we got the freaking Republicans and shit, and then we got the Russians, which are basically the same thing.
Basically.
So, I mean, do we have time to fight jihadists anymore?
I don't think so.
I don't either.
I think we can squeeze them in around Christmas.
So I wanted to look at the background of this Niger crisis that they're talking about, because it goes into the timeline. There was something interesting here on July 29th this timeline jumps all over because it goes July 29th and the 30th. Then it jumps to a pre-coup time, which was like last month. So I'm not sure why they didn't put that first. But this was interesting here was the statement read by Colonel Major Amadou Abdrahmane, who is one of the military, was the military junta is what they call it. Or like the military controlled, like the military government or whatever.
Right.
They're accusing the ECOWAS, which is like the African EU. In his statement, he accuses ECOWAS of planning to approve a plan of aggression against Niger through an imminent military intervention in Niamey, supported by certain Western countries, and warned of the junta's strong determination to defend the country. So they had issues with, they thought something was coming down prior to this. Like this is talking, I think, about like the Western allies coming together and coming against them. But
sounds like the Putin defense, right?
Right. Now, yeah, because it talks about pre-coup demonstrations in the capital before any of this happened. So something was going on there, or they didn't like what was going on, or they thought something was going to happen. And so they performed this coup, I guess.
Okay.
So it says in a march at the request of Chiani and organized by the M62 movement, which had previously opposed Bazoum's government and Operation Barkhane and supported the Russian invasion of Ukraine, thousands of pro-coup Nigerians gathered in Niamey's Place de la Concertation in front of National Assembly and went to the French embassy carrying Nigerian and Russian flags with slogans such as "Down with France," "Out with a Barkhane," "We don't care about ECOWAS," and the European Union and the African Union. "Arrest the former dignitaries to return stolen millions," and "Down with France, long live Putin." Now, a part of me wants to think that the West is throwing in the "long live Putin" part there, because that's just so odd to me.
Yeah.
I could see the "down with France" part.
Right.
But they're throwing in that they are supportive of the Putin attack on Ukraine.
Huh.
Is that Western propaganda, or is Russia like whispering in their ears, you get rid of the West, we promise you like so much more.
Yeah. Oh, and maybe that's it, because remember when we did our report on the war, right? The Ukraine-Russian war, that Russia and Ukraine are major like providers of resources for African nations.
Oh yeah,
right?
yeah. A lot of the food goes to Africa. Yeah. A lot of the grain exports in Africa.
So maybe it's one of those things where Ukraine was like kind of starting to like raise prices or something like that, and Russia's like, look, we'll take care of these. We'll put some price controls on it. You guys will be good.
Or yeah, when the U.S. and Ukraine decide to put sanctions on Russia, and then blah, 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 all the shit stopped pouring into Africa. What do you think Putin was saying?
Yeah.
It's like,
if it wasn't
your
for the
buddy's
United
there.
States.
Yeah, it's the West. It's like, France is in the West pocket. The United States controls the West in the EU. Like who do you think's responsible here? Yeah, you were hungry. Now you're more hungry. Yeah. Who do you blame for that?
Yeah. If the United States get it out of the way, you guys could get your food.
It's like, I'm just looking for a way to provide for you guys. Like,
right.
I'm sure it's not out of the goodness of like Putin's heart to provide to Africa. I'm sure he's got his own strategic move going on there too. But it would be easy if you're like a starving country and all of a sudden food stops flowing into your country to turn around. Well, we talk about like the vacuum effect when we take out like a government, leaves a vacuum, and a lot of times jihadists move in, or whatever freaking
the biggest
stick. a worst freaking group moves in. So it'd be easy for Russia to be like, you've been following them, you've been listening to France for how many years now? Since the 1900s, the early, like late 1800s, early 1900s, like you've been under their control. How full have your bellies been since then?
Right.
And now they're even emptier.
Yeah.
Now, do you want to keep going down that road, or do you want to do something about it and maybe give us a chance? I'm not promising He's like, you have no reason to trust us. But can it get much worse? Can you really get much hungrier?
Yeah, and I mean that really seems how it's shaping up nowadays. It's like, okay, well, I really don't like what they're doing.
Right.
Let's see what these guys can do, and maybe Putin's playing his own version of the Ukraine. Like, okay, well, the United States is tying us up here. Let's tie them up over there.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to say like who's responsible there, but I guarantee you it's not Niger that's responsible for it.
Yeah.
Apparently the demonstrators called for immediate intervention from the Wagner group, which is weird to me that there's this Russian mercenary group that's just like active in Africa.
Right. Yeah.
Like just fighting wars down in Africa without there being some kind of ulterior motive.
Right.
Like, why do you think the Wagner group didn't get just wiped off the face of the map last month?
Right.
Because they have this thing going on in Africa. And it's not like Putin can send troops down there to kind of meddle in Africa. It's just like, you know what? We'll keep you around. You guys fucked up, but you got this thing going on in Africa.
Maybe they're the Russian NED, right?
Oh, I'm sure they are. It says the demonstrators called for immediate intervention by the Wagner group. During the march, the entrances to the French and American embassies were closed. The French embassy's walls and gates were set ablaze and damaged, whilst Nigerian soldiers and General Salifu Modai were seen on the ground urging the crowds to disperse peacefully. The crowd left after police fired volleys of tear gas in response. Images showed people being loaded to ambulances with bloodied legs.
Bloodied legs?
Just bloodied legs.
Huh.
In response to the attack on the embassy, the French government warned that attacks on its nationals, military personnel, diplomats, and interests would lead to immediate and intractable response. What's France really going to do about it?
Yeah, right.
I mean, what has France really done in the last 50, 60 years? Yeah. I mean, they were great colonizers for a while.
Right. Well, Napoleon.
Yeah, for a while, but that ended, and they've just been pussies ever since.
Right. They form a nice resistance. That's about
right. On July 31st, it says, on the behest of ECOWAS, Chad's president, Mohamed Deby, met with General Chiani and President Bazoum at the presidential palace in Niamey. The Chadian president released pictures of the meeting, marking Bazoum's first appearance since the coup. Meanwhile, Colonel Abdrahmane accused Hassoumi Massaoudou, still claiming to be acting leader, substituting for Bazoum, of authorizing a French attack on the presidential palace to liberate Bazoum. The French foreign ministry denied there were any such plans, even though they're like, you guys don't do anything, we're going to do something about it. And then they're like, oh, we had no plans to do anything about it. August 1st, the junta announced it had reopened Niger's borders with Algeria, Burkina Faso, Mali, Libya, and Chad. Apparently August 2nd, Nigeria cut off supplies, and that turned into rolling blackouts in Niger. Blah, blah, blah. Just stuff happened. At some point, there was the ultimatum that you had talked about, like the timeline, the deadline that was given. It talks July 30th, the ultimatum and sanctions. On July 30th, ECOWAS issued the Nigerian military junta with an ultimatum that Bazoum be reinstated as president within 1 week. In a communication, we'll just say that because we're not French, read by ECOWAS Commission Chairperson Omar Toure at the Extraordinary Summit, it's titled Extraordinary Summit, convened in Abuja. In response to the coup, they said that if their demands were not met, they would take all measures necessary to restore constitutional order in the Republic of Niger, and that such measures may include the use of force. The response from the bloc towards the junta drastically differed from the measures taken with recent coups in Mali, Burkina Faso, and Guinea, which did not involve the threat of force for reinstating the overthrown government. So what makes this one different with this West Africa Union Pact, whatever group that all these countries are part of? Why are they so determined to reinstate the Nigerian government when Mali, Burkina Faso, and Guinea, they're just like, yeah, that sucks. I guess just do your thing.
Right. Yeah.
Like what changed for the? What was it? Maybe. What I mean, it's potentially this was the last straw. It's like, I mean, this is the last country we have in our group here. If this one falls, what are we even fucking doing? We can't let this be a failed experiment. So, all right, this time we're gonna do something. And Niger is like, what the hell, dude? You didn't do anything in Guinea. You didn't do anything in Mali. Like, why us? Why are we?
Just let us go, man.
Again,
just let us go.
There's something more there. There's something that's garnishing all this international attention, not just like the African Union, but international. Like, first of all, France is obviously pissed because, they're not technically the colonial powers there anymore, but they are the colonial powers there still. Just silent. They're silent partners. Colonial.
Well, and maybe Niger is where they're, France is laundering all their Fed money. Every country's got one.
Yeah, that's probably it.
Yeah.
On top of a lot of other things.
Right. Yeah. Human traffickers and whatever.
If like the superpower countries or unions or whatever, if they are super concerned about a small, poor, broke country like this, it's because they're doing shady shit in and out of it.
Yes.
Or on top of other things, on top of, they've got to have some sort of major resource there. It's got to be a strategic position.
Yeah.
And there's some laundering.
It's never humanitarian.
No.
People are getting rich off this country.
Humanitarian is another word for money laundering.
Yes.
In my opinion.
Agreed.
I mean, look at Haiti.
Yeah.
How much humanitarian aid have we sent to Haiti? How much good has it done?
It's gotten worse.
Since, like, when was the earthquake and the tsunami and hurricane, whatever, the back-to-back crises?
Yeah. I mean,
at least like 10, 15 years.
Yeah. I mean, like you said, back to back, and I mean, and with the Clintons going over there, that they probably did more damage than any earthquake and tsunami.
Probably
they did. But
they freaking raped it.
Yeah,
they're like, we can.
We got the Clinton plan.
Yeah, we can profit off of this.
we'll treat you like we treat our aides.
Yeah. So, I mean, again, all this supposed humanitarian aid that's supposed to be going there. And just nothing to show for it.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden it's just like, oh, there's a coup. We better do something about it because this democratically elected president. Yeah. And if this democratically elected president was somebody we didn't like, it would just be smeared with, well, there's obviously corruption. There was obviously like meddling in the election process, but this guy is obviously somebody we liked, to be like, oh, whoa, we can't overthrow a democratically elected president here because that would be bad. So I don't know.
Yeah, it's definitely shadiness going on there. It's funny that this is the one that raises the eyebrows.
It is, and it makes me wonder, like, what's going to happen next here. I want to get into. We still got time before break. I want to get into kind of the reasons why I think, and we kind of mentioned some of it, like why this area, why so much international attention, why is this so important to not just like France, but it's like there are sites that are like, wow, the U.S. dropped the ball on this, and this is going to be really bad for the U.S. if they drop the ball on this. This one's called The Importance of Being Niger. Let me pull this one up. This is from med-or.org. So it says, profiting from a favorable diplomatic conjunction and a strategic position, Niger is a key partner for Europe in the Sahel. What's the difference between the Sahara? What is the Sahel?
It's when it's really hot.
Oh, it's like
Sahel.
I should have looked this up already, but I didn't. What's the Sahel? It's a region in Africa. Gee,
There you go. You heard it here first.
It's defined as the ecoclimatic and biogeographic realm of transition between the Sahara to the north and the Sudanian savanna to the south. Having a hot semi-arid climate, it stretches across the south central latitude of the northern Africa between the Atlantic Ocean and the Red Sea. So it's like
Yeah.
it's kind of like the divide between the Sahara and the savannah.
Okay.
So it's kind of like the middle area.
Yeah.
Profiting from a favorable diplomatic conjunction and a strategic position, Niger is a key partner for Europe in the Sahel. Yet, President Bazoum needs international support. So this came out 2 years ago.
Okay.
For the country's internal problems emerging from the threat of several jihadist groups. I think he was newly elected at this time that this was written.
Okay.
It says Niger is the 7th contributor to the United Nations mission in Mali. It's part of the G5 Sahel, the main intergovernmental forum of the region and of the multinational joint task force that is currently fighting Nigerian jihadist groups in the Lake Chad region. Nigerian authorities are aware of their country's relevance on the central Mediterranean migration route, and most notably of the importance of Agadez as a structural node in its context. For this reason, since 2016, Niger has become one of the 5 African countries with which the EU has established formal migration partnerships in the context of the EU Migration Partnership Framework. And between 2014 and 2020, the EU has supported Niger with over 1 billion euros on the contrast of her regular migration and human trafficking.
There you go.
Okay. So it's on a major human trafficking route is what it sounds like.
Right.
What it sounds like they're saying to me. I mean, you might translate that different, but that's how I.
That sounds exactly right.
It talked about military position. Let me see if I can find it. I don't know. I can't find it.
Plus €1 billion, like you said, that's going to line some nice pockets.
Says, oh yeah, here it is. It says today instead, with thousands of troops involved in counterterrorism operations, military personnel from 10 different countries on its soil, a great availability of energy source, and newly democratically elected president, former Minister of Interior Mohamed Bazoum, the country is aiming to take a more prominent stage in the geopolitics of Africa. Somebody promised him something in the area of like the Great Reset and the World Economic Forum and the EU and shit like that.
That's my thought too.
This guy was probably placed there. He probably sits on the WEF.
Yep.
He's one of those guys. He's one of those global guys.
Yeah. You don't throw €1 billion at a third world country like that.
Of course not. Let's see. Niger's renewed ambitions are linked to new leadership of President Bazoum, political heir of his predecessor, Mahamadou Issoufou, who aims at leaving its mark in the country's history while maintaining a certain degree of continuity with the past. Under the new leadership, Niamey has manifested its willingness of achieving a more proactive posture and gaining more independence in terms of tools and strategies to counter its security issues. 2 key changes have emerged, evidently, in relation to contrast to terrorism. Firstly, Bazoum in person stressed the importance of improving dialogue and mediation between pastoralist and farmer communities, enhancing the role of the state through delivery of basic services, thus making recruitment harder for jihadist organizations. Secondly, the new announced an ambitious investment plan of $5 billion to modernize its army, and Bazoum believes that such improvements process is a key step to forge a new type of relationship with European partners.
Wow.
So building up this military, it's a military hub, is what it sounds like.
Yeah.
Like so many articles state that this is like I said, the hub where we fight African jihadists in the region from all these like other nations that are just falling to freaking coups and jihadist uprisings and stuff. So this is our last our last stronghold too. Like if Niger falls, all of Africa goes to the jihadists,
Right.
and
It's like our African Israel, right?
or African Iraq, maybe.
Okay, that works too.
But if that's what the people want,
Well, yeah, right.
in that area, who fucking cares?
Yeah.
The reason why the jihadists come and attack the West is because for centuries we have not left their countries alone.
Yeah. That and the fact that I guarantee you this, $6 billion that has gone to the country, the people aren't seeing jack
Obviously,
shit.
it's the
It's going
poorest
all to
country.
Bazoom.
It is. You know it is.
Yeah.
It's going to line the pockets of the government. It's
Yeah.
going to and obviously at least 50% of it's going back into the French banks.
Yeah.
So
Right.
it's like, yeah, we'll give you $5 billion.
Right. You just got to invest it with us.
Or it's gotta sit in our banks.
Yeah.
It just can't move out of our banks.
But you'll
it's
get an
yours.
allowance.
But
You'll
it's
get an
yours.
allowance.
It's your money. But we still hold.
Right.
We'll hold on to it
Yeah.
for you. But
all we
worry.
need is all your oil, all your uranium,
Yes.
and your children, because you have a lot of them.
No, that's another major thing I want to talk about is their uranium there. Because this one here says that Niger is the number 5 producer of uranium in the world.
You would think that a country that was the number 5 producer of uranium in the world would not be so broke ass poor, right?
One would think, except
for the fact that they're being raped by first world countries.
well, I know that this Bazoom guy or whatever his name is, he was trying to develop more uranium or make more partnerships with uranium. But again, it's not going back to the uranium miners. It's going to the puppet government.
Right.
Says Arriva's uranium. So this is from some mining site, ozonmining.com, but it says Arriva's uranium project at Amorin, Niger is all set to begin production. The Amorin uranium mine would be the biggest in Africa. Production is likely to double the current uranium production levels of the country. However, rebels are currently fighting with the government to have a share in the uranium wealth.
Yeah.
What you were saying.
Yeah.
The rebels, aka the people that are probably mining the uranium, they're like, you know what?
Dying for it.
We'd like a little bit of the share.
Yeah.
And the government's like, you guys are rebels. We're the government. We were democratically elected, quote unquote. So
take your rice and beans and like it.
Exactly. Says further hurdles that need to be tackled by the government and Arriva are the local environmental activists who claim that the local people in Amorin are being forcefully moved in the potential environmental hazards that the mine would cause. Just this paragraph alone gives plenty of reason to question this coup.
Yes.
It's like, well, this government, democratically elected government, gave a big fuck you to the people, said, not only are we not giving you money, but we're going to kick you out of your space.
Your tribal land, most likely.
We're going to tear up. Yeah. We're going to tear up the land.
Yeah.
We're going to probably pollute the land.
Yeah.
And not give you a dime for it.
Yeah.
Says the government of Niger is keen on sorting out these issues and promoting uranium mining. It has claimed that the French company Arriva is its strategic partner in the development of the country's uranium. The country has also signed, Niger, not the company. Niger has also signed the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty and ensures safe usage of the uranium for nuclear energy. Now, Niger may have signed that.
Right.
But where it's going,
exactly?
You think they give two shits?
I was gonna say, how fast do you think that uranium's gonna disappear to who knows who?
Well, does France has nuclear weapons, don't they?
Yeah, they do.
Yeah, and that's this company.
But how much do you think other countries will pay for that kind of uranium? Right, enough to make Niger very rich.
Right. It says uranium production in Niger has increased by 29%. From 2009 to 2010. So this is an old article too. The Coup underground uranium mine is operated by Compagnie something something something. This company is jointly owned by Areva Group, which was French, like I said, oversees uranium resources development of Japan, ENUSA Industries, which I'm guessing is part U.S. owned.
Yeah.
Avanzadas SA of Spain and the government of Niger. It sounds like a big collaboration of like world superpowers that are coming together to be like, let's rape this land for its uranium. And the rebels are like, we want part of that profit. And they're like, no, fuck you. This is a coup.
Yeah, keep mining.
The Arlet open pit uranium mine is operated by Société des Mines. I don't know French. Somer. This company is jointly owned by the Riva Group, which is French, and the government of Niger.
Right. Like 95.
Yes. The Amornararin uranium deposit is considered to be of world-class standard. In 2010, Areva began developing a mine in the area in which it planned to invest $1.6 billion. The mine would have a production capacity of 5,000 metric tons per year and is believed to have a lifespan of more than 35 years. Areva will begin production activities in 2013 and will be employing about 1,400 people. Several global
minimum wage.
less than minimum
like
wage.
A quarter a day.
I was gonna say, do you think fucking Niger has minimum wage?
No, I mean maybe like 10 cents a day type thing.
Several global mining companies are also conducting uranium exploration or mining activities in Niger. We have Artemis Resources of Australia, Paladin. Where have we heard Paladin? That's familiar.
Yeah, we've heard Paladin.
I can't remember. Of Australia. Oklo Uranium of Australia, Uru Metals of South Africa, Homeland Uranium of Canada, Bayswater Uranium Group of Canada, Orizon Gold Corporation of Canada, and Nuclear International Uranium Corporation of China.
All brokered by Hunter Biden.
Probably. Everybody is there like
raping the land
for its uranium.
And the people.
And then we're pissed off at the people for uprising against this democratically elected government that's like, we're going to make deals with all these countries and you're not going to get a dime.
Yeah, we just want to take care of you.
Yeah. We're bringing you into the 21st century.
Yeah, now bend over.
Yes, exactly. So, I mean, there's a couple reasons there. Being the military hub, which I feel like that's less important to be like the hub, the African hub to fight the extreme jihadists in Africa.
That's just a bonus.
And
to keep a military presence to make sure the people are in line, right?
Yeah, this uranium, like controlling this uranium, being the number 5 slot, which again, even that, I don't even think is enough, because you're talking like, I think 13% of the entire world's uranium comes from Niger. The United States is far less than that. Do you know who one of the biggest contributors of uranium to the United States is? Russia.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
How does that fucking work? Like when I see that, it makes me think this is all just a fucking show.
Right?
This is all just a game.
Yeah.
Because we're supposedly at like nuclear enemies.
Right.
But it's like, hey, can we get some uranium from you? That's fine.
We got to threaten you next week, so we got to have a little bit more uranium.
Well, it's kind of like the International Space Station.
Right.
It's just like, yeah, we're arch enemies, but we can come together to explore space together. That's fine.
Right. Yeah.
Like, let's put our differences aside and explore space.
Yeah.
Like, because that worked so well in the 60s and 70s.
Right. Yeah.
They're like, we know you let us not get you. We know you did. We know you didn't spill the beans about us not actually going to the moon.
Right. So let's be friends.
So we'll let you in on the fake space station ride too.
Right, yeah.
So I don't know. What do you think so far? We got to get to break.
Yeah, I think I see a lot of shitty stuff popping up right now. And so the saving the world for democracy excuse, it seems like it's pretty bottom on the list.
It's so Cold War-esque.
Yes.
It's like, what century are we living in where we're fighting proxy wars with Russia? We're saving democracy.
Right.
Like communism barely exists now.
Right. Yeah.
But we're still like this Cold War mentality of
Russia's the bad guy.
Russia's the bad guy, and we got to save the rest of the world from it.
Yeah. like I said,
to preserve democracy.
saving the world for democracy. I mean, that's the excuse everybody throws up, from either Putin to Trump to Shaquille O'Neal. I don't know.
I don't know that I've never heard Shaquille O'Neal say that.
Well, he's big.
He's really big. But.
So no, but I mean, it's just, you hear that so much now. It's like, well, we got to do this to save democracy. We got to do this to preserve democracy.
Democracy is at stake as we know it in Niger.
Yeah.
The biggest success story of democratic values in the continent of Africa. It's like, well, that's not saying much,
right? Yeah.
That's
so we're gonna keep raping the land and taking advantage of the people and stealing their resources,
right?
Because they're not responsible enough to handle it on their own.
Obviously,
right?
I mean, that's what they do here. So they try to do here. Yeah. There's something there.
Yes.
And we'll talk some more about it when we come back.
Yeah.
I want to talk about the Russia problem.
Okay.
We could be, because this whole thing is turning into like this playing out West versus Russia, but in Africa now. So it's like, again, reminiscent of the Cold War, like fighting all these proxy wars in these other countries and blaming Russia for it. Because Ukraine's come out and been like, well, that coup in Niger way down there, that was all Russia. That was, or Putin. Right. Like Ukraine saying, it's like, do you not have bigger things on your plate to worry about right now than a shithole country in Africa? Even if it was like orchestrated by Putin himself, he like hand wrote and like tied it to a freaking courier pigeon and sent it to Niger, this plan, and then sent in the Wagner group. Does Ukraine not have better things to worry about if they're like on the verge of being decimated by the big bad Putin himself? Like,
apparently not.
Apparently not. So, but whenever Ukraine comes out, I was like, he did it, Russia did it. I'm just like, all right, what's going on here? Because I question everything about the Ukrainian narrative already.
Right.
So if you're opening your mouth, there's probably something more to the story.
Agreed.
We're gonna take a couple minutes break and get something to drink, and we're gonna come back. We're gonna keep going. This is more than I have like focused attention on any single country in Africa in my entire life, collectively combined. That like this last hour has been more time spent in my brain on especially Niger. Like more focus on Niger than I've ever put in the last 38 years of my life. So we might as well continue it with a full 2 hours. So we'll be right back in just a couple minutes.
Have you ever thought that maybe voting, maybe all this politics constantly surrounding you is not the way to achieve freedom in your life? Hi, I'm Remso W. Martinez, and I ask myself the same question. That's why I'm on a journey to find true freedom in my lifetime. From learning about financial independence, to new ways to develop rugged individualism, to amazing guests living strange, crazy, amazing lifestyles that you've only thought might be real, but actually are. Go ahead and check out my new show, On the Run with Remso W. Martinez at the We Are Libertarians Network. You can find On the Run with Remso W. Martinez on iTunes, SoundCloud, Stitcher, Google Play. You know how the internet works. Come on down and let's discover how to achieve real freedom in your life together.
Hey everybody, I just want to take this time to give a big shout out to the very first sponsor of the Break the Bell podcast. That is Goulash Media. They can be found at goulashmedia.net. Goulash Media specializes in graphic design, web design, audio recordings, video work, wedding videos, music videos, even political campaign videos. Goulash Media caters to the little guy with the big vision. You can check them out at goulashmedia.net. That's GOULASH media.net. We're back. Talking about Niger. I don't know. Niger, I guess. So I found this while we were just on break.
Oh, okay.
Child labor and forced labor reports. 2021 findings on the worst forms of child labor. Now, we talked about the mining and shit, and we speculated on like human trafficking and all this random shit. This cord is really bothering me. In 2021, Niger made moderate advancement in efforts to eliminate the worst forms of child labor. How nice of them.
Wow, that is nice.
The government created the National Steering Committee to combat child labor. In addition, Niger signed a memorandum of understanding with Nigeria, formalizing cooperation agreements between the two governments to improve their collective response to human trafficking. Prevalence, and let's see. All right, here it says, however, children in Niger are subjected to the worst forms of child labor, including in hereditary slavery and mining. How in 2021 are they still have slavery, human trafficking, when this is supposed to be like the epitome of democracy in fucking Africa?
Yeah, well, because the same shit happens here.
Children also perform dangerous tasks, herding livestock. The minimum age for work does not meet international standards because it doesn't apply to children in unpaid or non-contractual work. In other words, slavery.
Right.
In addition, the government made no effort to address the ongoing practice of wahaya, a form of child slavery that was upheld as illegal by a Nigerian court in 2019. Lastly, gaps in labor law enforcement also remain, including insufficient funding for labor inspectors to conduct inspections.
Wait, what's wahaya?
A form of child slavery that was upheld.
That's all it says.
That's all it says. Yeah, so far.
How do you spell it?
Wahaya. Children in Niger are subjected to the worst forms of child labor, including hereditary. We already read that. Overview of children work. Street work, including market vendors and begging.
Okay, so wahaya is a practice whereby girls and women are bought as unofficial wives and are called fifth wives, whereby they have given none of the legal rights that legal wives have, as the maximum number of wives allowed by Islam is for. Wahaya is a female slave bought by a male. Common practice in Niger and Nigeria.
So it's a sex slave.
It's a sex slave.
It's a nice way to say sex slaves.
Yes.
And Niger has done nothing to improve their sex slavery.
Yes.
However, again, one of the great shining example of democracy.
All our politicians probably have houses there.
Probably. So, needless to say, if there was people that were like, you know what, we're kind of fed up with what's going on here, I would understand that.
Yeah.
And I don't see that as a threat to democracy.
Yeah.
You have child slavery, you have sex slavery, you have children working in freaking uranium mines.
Right. Yeah.
Yet it's a problem if we overthrow the government that's still freaking allowing this shit.
Right.
So let's keep going though. This gets into kind of the Russian problem with all of it. Because like I said before, let me see if I can find this one. Freaking Ukraine is blaming, obviously, Russia in all of this. Of course, I don't like articles just freaking like disappear or I just forget to pull them up. One of the two. Most likely that one.
Could you imagine having 5 wives?
No. Like, why would you want freaking 5 wives?
That's insane.
Let me Google this. Niger. Like, I gotta be careful how I spell this too.
Yes.
No, my computer doesn't try to autocorrect to the other word. I don't type it that many times. I don't type it at all, obviously. Let's see. News. Oh, come on. Oh, here we go. Russia, responsible for the Niger coup, says top Ukrainian officials.
Of course.
This is from Al Jazeera. It says the Russian Wagner Group boss Yevgeny Prigozhin, we talked about him,
we've talked about
has hailed the coup as a move towards independence from the West. So he's saying he's probably saying this is great for democracy in Africa. The United States is like, this is a threat to democracy in Africa. Ukrainian official has accused Moscow of orchestrating the coup in Niger, referring to the alleged involvement as a standard Russian tactic. Now, you know what's a standard tactic is Ukraine blaming Russia for something that happened, that happened. Last Wednesday, President Mohamed Bazoum and his democratically elected government were removed by military leaders in the 7th military coup the country has seen in less than 3 years.
Wow.
I thought it was the 7th since the 60s when they gained their independence. No, this is the 7th military coup in just 3 years. But again, great shining example of democracy. On Tuesday, Mikhailo Podolyak, an advisor to the Ukrainian president, said Russia was behind the shocking takeover. Is it really that shocking when it's your 7th in 3 freaking years? Yes. Why is that shocking?
I want to know why we haven't heard about the other 7 or 6.
Yes.
Right?
It's like when I said, would you have guessed there was a coup in Africa? You're like, no shit. Right.
Yeah,
no kidding.
Yeah.
Now, this is like a holiday for them. I mean, that's more than 2. It's more than 3 per, or more than 2 per year. It's like 2.5 per year.
It's like coup season.
Yeah. And they're like a shocking takeover.
Yeah.
Military takeover. It's not shocking at this point. On social media outlet X, formerly known as Twitter, Podolyak wrote, "It is now absolutely clear that Russia is behind the so-called military coup in Niger. It is a standard Russian tactic. Divert attention, seize the moment, and expand the conflict." Yes, that may be a Russian tactic, but isn't that also like a Western tactic?
Absolutely. That's everybody's
like
tactic.
A NATO tactic, a U.S. tactic, like a superpower tactic. You divert attention, like in Ukraine. You seize the moment, like in Ukraine, and you expand the conflict, similar to Ukraine. That's like literally what's going on in your country. The West did that to
what
you.
Our country does to us every time.
Yes. Russia has a global scenario for provoking instability to undermine the global security order. I mean, any of these, we can just put any superpower name in there. It's time to draw the right conclusion. Only the removal of Putin's clan, and sending Russia to the political rebirth can guarantee the inviolability of rules and stability to the world. He's using this as, look at the 7th military coup in Niger. This is a reason why we gotta take down Russia and send them to the political stone age. Is pretty much, he called it political rebirth. So basically overthrow the current government of Russia.
Yes.
Because of this shocking 7th coup in Niger. The Kremlin said, talk about because he talks about Russia capitalizing on the moment. What the fuck is he doing?
I know, right?
Right now, it's just like, we got to overthrow Russia because of this. Number 7.
Right.
7 was the final straw for Russia.
They're dividing and conquering right now.
The Kremlin said Monday the situation in Niger was cause for serious concern after the coup was condemned by much of the world, but welcomed by the Wagner mercenary boss Yevgeny Prigozhin, who has extensive interest in Africa. In a call with reporters, Kremlin spokesperson Dmitry Peskov said Russia called for all sides in Niger to show restraint and for the fastest possible return to legal order. Russia's Wagner Group has not claimed responsibility for the coup, but Prigozhin has hailed the military takeover. Prigozhin's fighters have played a significant role in many African states, to the dismay of the West, and most recently arrived in Central African Republic ahead of a constitutional referendum. In a recent audio message on the Wagner Group Telegram, Prigozhin said what happened in Niger is nothing other than the struggle of the people of Niger with their colonizers. With colonizers who are trying to foist their rules of life on them and their conditions and keep them in the state that Africa was in hundreds of years ago. That's exactly why the West cares.
Yeah.
It's like, we don't want things to be different there because this has worked so well for us.
We're making a lot of money here.
Since the days of slave trade, slave trade, it's just worked for us. So if that shifts, then everything is different, obviously. But the equilibrium in the region is going to shift, and that's going to throw off everything. Prigozhin added, today is effectively gaining their independence. The rest will, without doubt, depend on the citizens of Niger and how effective governance will be. But the main thing is they have to get rid of the colonizers. So
I feel like Putin got pissed at Prigozhin after his alleged coup and was like, you know what, just go start shit in Africa.
Yeah, why are you doing that here when there's you can have the entire continent of Africa?
You go crazy.
Apparently, this Prigozhin guy was given free reign to move about as freely as possible and do whatever the fuck he wanted in Africa after he was kind of given the boot from Russia. So yeah, it's exactly what it sounds like. It's like, this thing you do, it works really well.
Yeah.
We don't want it here.
Right.
But I got a job for you.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, that thing that you've been doing in Africa, you keep doing that and you can have your life.
So basically they're starting shit. It's like, okay, which one of us are going to rape Niger? Right? Which one of us are going to be able to really take advantage of the situation here?
Yeah. Do
you want it to be Russia, the bad guys, or do you want it to be us, the good guys?
If you don't want it to be Russia, then let us continue to rape them and,
exactly.
and enforce
because we're the good guys.
Child slavery, because that would be the best.
Yes.
Because CNN even came out and was like, Africa's latest coup is a headache for the West and an opportunity for Russia. And it's just like they're saying all this stuff is such it's back to, again, Cold War type shit, where it's like, this may not be good, but at least it's not Russia that's doing this. This is from CNN. It says, days after the democratically elected president of Niger was deposed in military coup, thousands of supporters of takeovers thronged the French embassy. Fucking CNN. I'm not leaving you. It won't let me pull up the article I want. It keeps giving other pop-ups. Hang on. It's loading again.
Okay.
It says, as President Mohamed Bazoum was being held captive by his soldiers at the presidential palace in Niamey, tense scenes played out down the road where pro-coup Nigerians, some waving Russian flags, chanted "Long live Putin" and "Down with France" as a plaque at the embassy was torn down. The images reverberated through the halls of power at the Élysée Palace in Paris, thousands of miles away. French President Emmanuel Macron threatened retaliation against any attacks on French nationals and condemned the coup as completely illegitimate and profoundly dangerous for the Nigerians, Niger, and the whole region. The U.S. and other Western nations also condemned the coup, and a bloc of Western African countries threatened to intervene militarily if Bazoum was not reinstated. U.S. President Joe Biden called for immediate release of Bazoum in a written statement commemorating Niger's Independence Day, saying Washington stands with the people of Niger as the country as the country faces a grave challenge to its democracy. The toppling of Bazoum was just the latest in a spate of recent coups stretching from one side of Africa to the other. 5 countries in Western and Central Africa have been seized by military juntas in the past 3 years, 5 of them former French colonies. Do you ever stop and ask, maybe are the people just not happy with what's going on there and that's why there's coups?
I would think maybe they don't want to be moved and forced to mine and, be poor.
And give all their freaking wealth and resources to France or the EU or whatever. The coups have unfolded within the context of a wider struggle between the West and Russia for influence in Africa. That's all we give a shit about.
Yep.
We don't care that the people are a little upset. Yeah. We only care about who's going to have the bigger influence in Africa.
Yep.
Who's going to, obviously, if the West is not the main influence in Africa, is going to be Russia. We don't want Russia to have influence in it. So is it really that bad for the West to have that much of an influence on Africa? I mean, God forbid they like just live their own lives and do what they want with their own resources, even if they just completely fuck it up.
Right.
That's your right. It's your country. Fuck it up all you want. I don't care.
Absolutely. You do what you do.
Again, we can't be getting that much uranium from there.
Yeah.
We can't be even getting that much oil from there. I want to think. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of on a trade route, I guess, a human trafficking trade route. But it's still the fucking middle of the desert. It's not on like a major body, like water body. It doesn't have any ports, nothing like that. It's landlocked. It's pretty much all desert.
Yeah.
And again, it's not like, I can't imagine we're gaining that much financially from it. It's just the whole, well, if we're not in charge, who's going to be in charge? Somebody's got to be in charge. We want to be in charge.
Right.
And we need a stronger foothold in Africa.
Right.
It says, let's see, the coups have unfolded within the context of a wider struggle between the West and Russia for influence in Africa, where experts say a rising tide of anger in former French colonies has left the door open for the Kremlin. While there is no sign that Russia helped instigate Niger's rebellion, Moscow has sought to take advantage of anti-Western sentiment around the region in recent years. U.S. officials warned that the Russian mercenary group Wagner, which helps prop up several military juntas in the region, could seek to exploit the crisis in Niger. Wagner boss Yevgeny Prigozhin has celebrated the putsch, I don't know what that word means, and offered to help the country's new leaders. As Western countries race to evacuate their people from Niamey on Wednesday, one of Niger's coup leaders flew with a delegation to neighboring Mali, where hundreds of Wagner contractors were stationed to seek support for that nation's military ruler. The coup in Niger, so this talks about how they're an important Western ally. So important that we let them starve and like rape their land and shit.
Absolutely.
The coup in Niger has deprived Western nations, particularly France and the United States, of a key ally in a troubled region. So we are the ones deprived out of this whole coup. Again, they're not even like covering this up as a humanitarian thing.
Right.
It's like, well, we got to do something about it because of the people and the babies in incubators like Iraq and, you know, like the freaking refugees like in Syria.
Yeah.
No, now it's just like they're depriving us of a key ally in the region.
What about the United States?
Yeah, what about us?
Yeah,
you ever ask, what about us?
Don't you care?
Didn't Michael Jackson have a song, What About Us?
I think so, yes.
The largest country in West Africa, Niger has been touted as a democratic success story on the continent, and Bazoum was seen as a crucial partner in the fight against Islamist
for this 6
jihadists
months
in the region. Democratic success story on the continent, and a crucial partner in the fight against Islamist jihadists in the region.
Yeah.
Probably
like,
the people that just want to take the fucking country
It's
back.
like they're trying to rewrite history and paint this as like, no, what we've helped them become who they are today.
Yes. Now we feel like they owe us.
Yeah, right.
About 1,100 U.S. troops are stationed in the country, including at a drone base that aids the Nigerian military in the countering insurgents affiliated to ISIS and Al-Qaeda. Have you even heard those two names in the last like 5 years?
Yeah, right.
The French military also maintains 2 permanent bases in the Sahel region, one of which is Niamey. Niamey. I don't. I've pronounced it 3 different ways since we started. This was the main base for its flagship Operation Barkhane, a border French anti-terror initiative targeting militants across the Sahel, including in Burkina Faso. So remember that Operation Barkhane was one that the coup people, whatever we're calling them, they were against. They were against, like, they were pro Russia attacking Ukraine, and they were heavily like protest. Oh, it's the protest, leading up to this. They were protesting this Operation Barkhane that apparently is a French anti-terror initiative targeting militants across the Sahel, probably targeting citizens, probably targeting their family members, blowing up their freaking houses and birthday. the same thing we did in like Afghanistan and Iraq.
absolutely.
But this
With their
is French.
drones, right?
This is the French
Yeah,
version
which means
of
they're gonna
the
fuck
war
it up
on,
even more.
Yeah, so it's the French version of the war on terror. They're just like, we're going to try Africa first because that seems easier. The number of violent events involving militant Islamist groups in the Sahel has doubled since 2021. So we've got this hub in the dead center of the Sahel region that's supposed to be the biggest counter to terrorists, militant Islamic groups in the region. Yet, kind of like the war on drugs and kind of like the war on poverty, for some reason, since we put that hub there, there's more Islamic groups there, like like militant Islamic terrorist cells in that region.
Yeah, that sounds like democracy.
So what are you doing there then?
Right? Yeah,
are you
they're
forming
attacking
the groups?
Yeah, well, and that's it. They're probably torturing citizens, black bagging them, torturing them, and turning the citizenship around against them.
Yeah, and pissing off the citizens.
Yeah. So
and
it's like,
so they join Islamic terrorist groups.
You're help building their membership.
Yes. Says the number of violent events involving militant Islamist groups in the Sahel has doubled since 2021, according to a report published on Monday by the African Center for Strategic Studies, a Pentagon think tank. Niger is also a leading supply of uranium to the European Union and produces about 5% of the world's supply of the mineral, according to the World Nuclear Association. So we can't lose our uranium, and obviously we have to keep our hope.
Extremist,
obviously. Despite its wealth, so now we're talking about the anti-French backlash. Despite its wealth of resources, Niger remains one of the poorest countries in the world. Many, especially in the younger generation, see France as responsible for prevailing poverty levels in the country. Okay, this is where it talks about France's control that still is over. It says, we came out to tell this little Macron from France that Niger belongs to us. It is up to us to do what we want with Niger. That sounds anti-democratic doesn't it?
I think so.
Like the people saying it's up to the people to decide what happens to our country. That's anti-democratic sentiment there.
They have to go down.
Yeah, this is like a disgrace to democracy as we know it. To say, we don't want your country telling us what to do.
Right.
We, the people, want to tell us ourselves
How
what
dare
to do.
you?
Says this resentment has spilled over into a burgeoning anti-French sentiment that is rising across the former French colonies in West and Central Africa, said Olawale Ojawale.
Sounds like a campfire song.
Udalali, golly, what a day. An analyst with the Institute of Security Studies. There's a sense that even though France granted independence, they are still tied to the umbilical cord of France. There's a subtle thinking that nothing takes place in Francophone countries without the tacit approval of France, Ojawale told CNN. For decades, Paris has maintained a prominent presence in African nations stemming from its colonial history in the continent, a relationship known as Frank-Africa. Frank-Africa has often been criticized for perpetuating neo-colonial policies or practices, like we talked about. It's like colonialism without the name colonialism.
Right.
For example, few things have sparked more controversy than the Central African franc, or CFA, a currency which is still used by 14 nations in West and Central Africa, including Niger. Countries using the CFA francs are required to store 50% of their currency reserves with the Bank of France, and the currency is pegged to the euro. While Paris asserts that the system promotes economic stability, others say it allows France to exert control over the economy of the countries using it.
Yeah.
That's exactly what it's for. Otherwise, why the fuck would they insist on it? Oh, just do that. I mean, it's not going to affect our economy. It's not going to affect yours. Just do it.
Yeah, well, they keep the money in their banks. They build up the interest. They probably take the interest. They probably tax the interest, and then they
probably set like their own interest rates with it.
Absolutely,
like based on France's interest rates, not based on
which is I mean, beating the shit out of them because I couldn't afford French rates.
Yeah, it says battle for influence. So this gets into probably Russia, I would assume. The wave of anger across or against the French in its former colonies in Africa presents an opportunity for Russia as it seeks to extend its influence across the continent, said Rami Adekoya, an associate lecturer in politics at the UK's York University. When people were talking about potential rivals of Western influence in Africa, it's always China, because we talk about the Belt Road Initiative and China wanting to go. We talked about it today. China taking over the freaking airport.
Right.
It says, now in the past couple of years, essentially since the war in Ukraine, Russia has intensified its efforts, and all of a sudden, Russia is now back as almost a geopolitical player on the African continent, and Western intelligence services are worried. Wagner is central to the way in which Russia has maintained and grown its clout in Africa. Wagner founder Prigozhin blamed the coup in Niger on the legacy of colonialism and said his group was capable of dealing with situations like the one unfolding in Niamey, though there are no signs yet that his offer has been taken up. What happens in Niger has been brewing for years, Prigozhin said. The former colonizers are trying to keep people of African countries in check. In order to keep them in check, the former colonizers are filling these countries with terrorists and various bandit formations, thus creating a colossal security crisis. Now, going back up where I said, hey, we have this major hub to fight terrorism, and for some reason the terrorists just keep popping up. And then you have the Russian guy saying, well, actually, it's the colonizers, being the Western countries, that are providing the terrorists.
It's almost as if like Nazis showing up in Ukraine.
Yeah.
Right?
Or like the Pakistanis that were sending their freaking terrorists into Afghanistan
Wouldn't that be quite the incentive to want Western security forces?
It's almost like the mafia.
Right.
It's like you're going to pay for your protection. Protection from what?
Send you
the protection from our people.
Yes.
Like we wouldn't want anything bad to happen. We wouldn't want there to be a fire now, would we?
Yeah, that would be a tragedy.
Can you imagine if you didn't pay for the insurance and there happened to be a fire at your place of business?
That's almost exactly what it sounds like.
It is. It's like you want terrorists in the country, would you?
Yeah.
Well, we have to. But I mean, if you pay for our protection, we'll pay for it. Then you got to send in some terrorists to make it look like there's
absolutely.
There's an actual
we're paying
threat.
For protection. How come the terrorist number has doubled?
Well, you just need to pay us for more protection.
Right, exactly. Or
not paying us.
Give us uranium at cut rate, right?
As the coup was unfolding in Niger last week, Russian President Putin was launching a charm offense on African leaders at a summit in St. Petersburg, where he railed against Western colonialism and wooed attendees with gifts, including debt relief for Somalia, a mobile medical laboratory for Uganda, and even a presidential helicopter for the leaders of Zimbabwe. I mean, can you blame them for taking that? How dare them take debt relief as a poor African country like Somalia?
Yeah. I mean, what is the United States and France giving them? High interest
probably
rates
more debt.
And terrorism.
Yes, and terrorism. The meeting was more sparsely attended than the Kremlin had hoped. 17 African heads of state showed up, far fewer than 43 that attended a previous summit. So, why do we care about Niger? Because if we don't care about Niger, Russia's going to care about Niger. And we couldn't possibly afford to let Russia take over yet another country, especially one that's so like supposedly like such a freaking like geographically located position there.
And if the West didn't treat them like shit, they wouldn't even be entertaining offers from Russia.
No, I mean, or if just left them the fuck alone.
Right.
Let them do as they please.
Can't do that.
No. Now, at one point in this article, it talks about the African nations turning to their real friends, turning their backs on like traditional partners and allies that kind of fucked them over for the last 100 years, and turning to quote unquote their real friends, or maybe just looking for another opportunity.
Right. Yeah.
You know, maybe just like putting the feelers in the water. It's like, what can you offer?
Right. Yeah.
Because they're not offering us a whole lot. What
Yeah.
can Russia? What can China offer? What can North Korea even offer?
Yeah.
God knows nothing. But you know, it's just like,
Yeah.
just because we say they're, I mean, they could be the freaking bad guy,
Yeah.
the evil villain that we say
Absolutely.
Putin is. But if we're not doing them much favors,
Right.
Africa doesn't care if we hate Russia.
Right.
If they're still starving
Yeah.
and somebody else is just like, you know, I might be able to make you a better deal. It's just like, well, maybe I'll entertain this deal. And then the rest, I mean, obviously, what do? We just let them go about their way, right? And make deals. No, we probably send in troops.
Yes.
Or
bully them into staying with us.
Or make our other African allies send in troops, or like pressure the whatever that African Union was to intervene on the behalf of the colonizers or the West or the French or the like whatever we're calling them these days. I don't know. Like
the organization of the week.
I do know that like we're potentially losing a major foothold. If we lose much more of Africa, like I feel like Africa is going to be a harder sell for the West because we've done so much bad shit against Africa for so many years.
Yeah.
That is just even if we were promising them literal like riches and gold and like we're gonna make you rich, like it would be a hard sell.
But what was the last country we actually helped? I mean, honestly, what was the last time we went into a country and actually did some good?
Yeah, walked away and they came out
and
on
they were
top.
happy.
No, it's usually the countries they're like, fuck you. We're like, oh, we're gonna put sanctions on you, and they like turn into like some rich nation or something. I don't know.
Yeah, but that's it exactly. I feel like the last 10 years, it's been like a game of risk.
Oh, yeah.
And countries are either deciding to go with Russia and China or with the United States, and we've just been screwing the pooch so much that we keep losing all these.
Well, obviously. I mean, but that's why we go to war with everybody.
Yeah,
like,
because you know,
I don't know. It's a big. It's still really bizarre to me. Like all the other countries that we have talked about on here, like Haiti, for example, there's so much information to speculate on what's really going on in Haiti, like with the Clinton Foundation and just like the sweatshops, literal sweatshops we were trying to, like the big freaking, what was it, the textile places, we shut down all their farms. And I mean, the information's out there.
Yeah.
Like it's hard to even find information to speculate on when they share. I mean, again, it's a freaking sandbox.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like, what's our interest? Like Afghanistan and that region, that is like bordering Russia. So I could see why we would want like a foothold in kind of that region.
Yeah.
But why here?
Right.
Why this sandbox?
Yeah.
We played in enough sandboxes and we fucked them all up. Why do we need to screw up this sandbox?
I think that Africa is like I said, prime real estate. Everybody wants a piece of Africa right now. And maybe it's because
for what though? What did they find in Africa that they're not telling us about?
Right, exactly.
What is it? Just like the last frontier? It's just like we got it.
Well,
I mean, we got it. We got to take it over.
There is probably a lot of natural resources that are very much untapped in Africa,
or even just like the potential of that.
There's probably a lot of oil in Niger.
There could be. There could be that,
and that's we'll find that out in about 10 years after the next.
It could just be like there may be natural resources that we haven't discovered yet, but we haven't like fully like plundered all of Africa yet, so we just got to plunder. Or it could be to me that maybe this is another Cold War scenario where we're just trying to like stretch Russia thin and bankrupt Russia through all these proxy wars.
But it almost seems like Russia's doing that to us right now.
Or that maybe they're using our own game against us,
and that's what it seems like. It's really very much seems like almost like an Afghanistan thing,
or like like all of the 50s and on, like the entire existence of the Soviet Union, where we just fought all these small wars and just like bankrupted the Soviet Union.
But maybe the Wagner Group is going in and be like, look, man, these colonials, they're screwing up your country, they're raping your land. We'll support you if you want to kick them out.
Yeah.
Right.
So I got this last one. This is from a former NATO commander. He's warning of a devastating full-blown war in Africa. I guess, why not?
Sure.
We're threatening war with China, Ukraine, Russia. Attack Russia, the homeland. Yeah. Attack China. This would make the most sense, I think, actually.
Yeah.
Because you can't, we're coming to realize that this whole making Russia the bad, we're not going to attack Russia, right. And Russia's not going to attack NATO. Right. It's just not going to happen.
Right.
You can't attack them on their home. So go back to the Soviet era tactics where it's just like, well, let's just start the shit over here. So Russia maybe sends in troops and we can fight. Let's just continue the proxy wars. Yeah. All the Middle Eastern countries, they're sick of the proxy wars. Let's move this. Let's move it to Africa.
Right. We've gone from South America. We've gone to the Middle East.
Yeah.
Eastern Europe. Yeah. Let's do Africa.
It's Africa's time.
Okay.
This is from Newsweek. It says former NATO commander warns of devastating full-blown war in Africa. It says former NATO Supreme Allied Commander of Europe, James Stavridis, warned on Sunday that the conflict in Niger, amid a looming deadline for coup leaders to cede power, could potentially lead to a full-blown war in Africa. The Sunday deadline established by a coalition of West African nations for Niger to return to democratic rule is set to expire, quote unquote. They should put democratic rule in quotations.
They should.
The demand has been shunned by fellow military-led countries, Burkina Faso and Mali, who have jointly warned that any intervention would amount to a declaration of war. While conflict is far from guaranteed, the conditions for a major escalation are quickly brewing on a continent that has played host to some of the deadliest wars in the past century. Some believe that such a confrontation would have vast ramifications, not only for people of the Sahel region, but far beyond, with the potential to draw in the likes of the United States, France, and Russia among other invested powers. Again, they're not even covering up that we care about the people there. It's we're heavily invested in this region. We can't afford to just walk away from it.
For us.
Yeah. I even saw a freaking news reporter talking about like the U.S. can't afford to walk away from Niger right now. We just can't afford, when they were talking about how by law we have to just discontinue our aid and stuff in our military. It's they were like, we can't afford to do that. We can't just afford to walk away from it. We have to intervene because it's that crucial. It's just we don't give, nobody's even in any of these articles has really even mentioned the Nigerian people in this.
Absolutely. Yeah.
It says, on Friday, defense chiefs from West African nations finalized an intervention plan and urged militaries to ready resources after negotiations with Niger's military junta stalled. All the elements that would go into any eventual intervention have been brought out here and been refined, including the timing, the resources needed, and the how and where and when we are going to deploy such a force. 7 days this has been going on. Since, what was it, last Wednesday, I think?
Yeah.
So 6 days. All the elements that would go into an intervention are here, and it's planned out, and the resources needed are all the how, when, why, all that's all planned out. Does it feel like maybe this was in the works ahead of time?
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah.
But in 6 days, they're like, oh yeah, we already know what we're gonna do if something, if we're gonna need to intervene. We've already worked this out.
They probably have seen this coming for a while.
It's kind of like working on the COVID vaccine for the last 10 years.
Right.
We knew it was coming.
Did you have any idea that there's 14 countries in Africa that are on the French monetary system?
No, I didn't fucking know France had control of anything anymore.
Yeah, me neither.
I didn't know any of this shit. It says, blah, blah, blah. It says, however, Musa did not say whether ECOWAS would deploy force at the end of the deadline given to the junta. Newsweek has reached out to multiple military experts for comment via email. While speaking to the New York Times on Saturday, General Christopher Gwabin Musa, Nigerian chief of defense staff, told the newspaper, democracy must be restored through diplomacy or force.
Isn't that like our only options?
Yeah.
Diplomacy or force.
On Sundays, security and intelligence expert Aluse Adetayo told CNN that preparation is already in top gear. There's no doubt about that, and the military are on standby. To my own understanding, Nigeria is not going to back down and will do whatever it takes to return Niger to civilian rule. Meanwhile, U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken wrote on X on Friday that U.S. is pausing certain foreign assistance programs. The provision of United States assistance to the government of Niger depends on democratic governance and respect for constitutional order. We are pausing certain foreign assistance programs and will continue to review our assistance as the situation evolves. And that's it. Do you think we're headed towards full-blown war in Africa? I mean, we've been wanting a full-blown war.
I think Africa is probably moving towards a full-blown war, but I think the United States will find someone else to fight it.
No, I don't think so.
You think that they'll send troops in?
Oh, absolutely.
Really?
I do. Because we don't got any fucking treaties against Africa.
No.
We don't got anything that's like, you step across that line, we're going to step across that line. Like, there's nothing saying.
Yeah.
Like, we've been trying to push towards a full-blown war. We've been trying to provoke the other side towards some sort of full-blown war to have something to expand the military-industrial complex since Ukraine.
Yeah. But we've been trying to get them to cross the line.
We've been trying to get Russia to cross the line. They're not doing it. They're trying to get us to cross the line. We're not doing it. We've been trying to get China to cross the line with Taiwan. They're not doing it. And we probably realize that'd be really fucking stupid to attack China.
Right.
So then it's just like, Africa. We could fight wars in Africa. I mean, we already have the desert camos from Afghanistan and Iraq. We might as well take them to Africa. We don't even have to redesign our camos.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's a pretty big, like, okay, who's going to blink first moment? And you think we'll be the ones that do it?
I don't think we'll be the first to do it, but I think we would definitely have some sort,
especially
because, I mean, we are French allies. We're allies with
but we
NATO allies
with France.
Well, obviously, but like,
I mean, look how Vietnam went.
France would be the first one to intervene as far as a European power because they have the heaviest interest there. And then I feel like NATO would kind of follow into that, and damn right the U.S. would get some sort of involved in it. I mean, the U.S. provides 90% of NATO.
Everybody, right?
And Russia would definitely get involved in it just as a big fuck you to the West. And then the West would do it as a big fuck you to
and
Russia.
I can see Biden doing that because he's very much like, oh, well, you gotta fight for democracy.
Obviously.
But strategically, I just think it's...
They hate us because they hate our freedom.
Right. I think it's a boneheaded move.
What? Iraq was a boneheaded move.
Well, every battle we've been in the
move.
Last 25 years.
Ukraine's a boneheaded move. The same people that got us, not us per se, but got the involvement in Ukraine that's going on right now.
Yes,
they're still doing the same shit. Of course, they would be willing to get us involved in some African country that's supposedly this giant strategic hub.
Look at Syria. I mean, we didn't fully commit to Syria.
No, but we sure let it fall to bits and pieces.
We did, but we're good at that. So
Syria is also really close to Russia too.
Well, yeah, I know, and Russia was perpetrating the proxy war in that.
Is Syria an ally to Russia?
Yeah.
So I mean, that's probably a good reason. There's not any like hard defined allies in Africa, especially like Western Africa. It's like the perfect proxy wars. Yes, we all have our interests there, and France has heavily invested. I mean, this article says, "Oh, I mean, this is harming our investments in the region." And everybody's going to protect their investments. They're not going to protect the people, but they're going to protect their investments because of democracy. So yeah, I 100% think
it's interesting to me though
to protect our investments.
Biden being a disciple of Obama, and Obama was very much anti-colonialist
Was he?
on paper.
I was gonna say,
Right,
was he though? Was
Right,
he?
but I mean, I think it would be hard for Biden to defend that. Be like, yeah, we're going in. I mean, of course he's going to push it on saving democracy, and he'll probably even say that Trump had something to do with it.
But every major news site has touted our investment in the region,
Right.
and we can't afford to lose our investment in the region.
Right.
We can't afford to lose our strategic placement in the region.
Yeah.
I mean, hands down, like nobody's even questioning whether we should do something in the region. It's everyone's just like, do we really want to lose out on this investment?
Right.
On everything we poured into there?
Poured over. I mean, the people there are the ones that are suffering mostly because of our actions and France's actions. And so, as you said, no one's even trying to defend the people.
Not anymore.
Right. It's all about like, oh, well, we want to get ours.
Well, a part of me wonders, are they not bringing up the people and whatever refugees, humanitarian, because they know that like France or the Western allies are 100% responsible for the situation they're in. So let's not put the spotlight on the humanitarian crisis on this one, because we are 100%, not us, but the West, I guess, if you want to lump us all together, the Western colonizers, as Russia's calling it, we single-handedly created the problem.
Right. Absolutely.
So we can't spotlight that, because then people might start researching how this started to begin with, because it couldn't have just been this coup.
Right.
Like, it couldn't have been the coup that caused the humanitarian crisis. What actually caused it?
Do you think that people are actually buying that excuse anymore, that it's to preserve democracy?
They keep throwing it out there.
Well, I know.
I mean, MSNBC throws it out there against Trump all the time.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. But I mean, it's like, I think people need to seriously look up what it means, because they keep taking things away from people.
You keep using that word,
and I don't think you know what it means.
Yeah, don't think it means what you think it means.
I think what's going to happen in Africa is going to be a huge tragedy.
Oh, it will,
and it's going to completely decimate the entire area, and it's all for what? To piss off the other guy?
Clout.
Yeah, bragging rights.
That's pretty much it. That's
the fifth wife.
Well, yes. I mean, that's what it seems. I mean, that's all it's even coming down to. It's just like, well, it really comes down to like who most influence in Africa, not the people. Like we gave up on the African people after Live Aid, and
if Bono can't save them, nobody can.
Right. Or what was the song that they all?
Oh yeah,
we are the world.
We are the world.
We are the world. Yeah, like we gave up on Africa in the 80s and 90s. Now it's not about the African people anymore. It's just about I want to see. I want to see a song, a collaborative song.
It's coming. It's got to.
But written in the context of all these articles of not giving a single shit about the people of Africa. Just singing about the lost potential of uranium, singing about the lost potential of holding such a strategic military position.
I think you need to write that song.
If you're a songwriter out there, please write the next rendition of We Are the World. Please write the next
Rape
Live
Africa.
Aid. Yeah. We are the rapists. I don't know. This is terrible. It's terrible because, yes, there's probably going to be some kind of major meltdown on the continent.
Yeah, it's going to be bad.
And the people, if we're not even pretending to care about the people anymore,
right,
then we know it's going to be bad. Because before we used to pretend to care about the people.
Had Sally Struthers over there selling rice.
Well, even like freaking Syria and Afghanistan, like we pretended to care. Oh, we're doing this for the people because, Saddam Hussein, he's like so bad towards the people. So we take out Saddam Hussein and we just flatten the entire country while we're there. Afghanistan,
depleted uranium rounds all over the place.
Right. So now we're not even pretending that anymore.
Yeah.
So you gotta. That's because people kind of forget that there's African people now.
Right. Yeah. And that was fashionable in the 80s, not so much anymore.
There's still people there, whether you like to think it or not.
Yeah.
And if we don't pretend to care about it, if the superpowers don't even pretend to care, you just know that they're just gonna not give two shits about who gets mowed over in this power grab.
Right.
It's gonna be another freaking. It's not gonna be. It's developed into another. Not even a Cold War. Like, what do you call it? Because the super Cold War era proxy war type scenario,
right?
Where we're not directly fighting the bad guy, we're fighting for land from the bad guy. We're just, I don't know, screwing with the bad guy at the expense of everybody else.
It's a reverse Afghanistan.
Yeah,
right.
I don't know. You got anything else on Niger?
No, I think we've kind of covered it all.
Ryan Randall's here. He says, "Are y'all talking about the funding being withheld? Over 100 million, according to State Department briefing." We did mention that they're waiting to come up with some national security excuse to give the funding back to the people that are starving.
Right.
Like, does it benefit us to continue to support the starving people over there? Because that's the only reason. By law, we can only continue to support the starving people over there if somehow it benefits us.
Right. If they take our guy back, then we'll make sure they get fed.
Exactly. $100 million.
Yeah.
Now, I guess that's probably not really hurting the people there because they weren't getting any of that money anyway.
Yeah, right.
They weren't seeing a dime of that shit anyway. So they just pulled back all the laundering that they're doing through.
It's really the French government and Bazoum.
Probably. I don't know.
It's going to be a mess, and it's sad to see because it seems like more and more of these things are popping up.
Yeah. I mean,
like you said, it seems like we're directly in Cold War era again.
I guess you got to ask, did the Cold War era ever really officially end?
No, I don't think it did. I mean, I think we had a nice little lull there for about 10 years.
Just shift focuses on to Monica Lewinsky, and then there was the war on terrorism.
We moved from the Cold War. We had a little break with the right-wing extremist in the country here.
Oh yeah.
And
then we had the terrorists.
Yep, the terrorist.
And then the right-wing extremists.
And then we came back to the terrorist. And now we're on Russia.
No, we didn't. Did we come back to the terrorists, or are we just saying that as a reason to keep our
no. Okay. It was a good excuse.
Yeah, because I don't know. Ryan says rings like the Ukrainian money withheld. Yeah. It's almost like replays.
Yes. Yeah. They're using the same playbook over and over again.
Yeah, that's all they've ever done.
Almost like the NED.
I was gonna say, do you think I didn't even look up the influence of the NED in that region?
Oh, I'm sure
there's got to be some.
Because when we did our show on the NED, I mean, there was 119 countries that they're operating in.
Like all of them,
yeah,
pretty much.
Basically. So yes, I'm sure that Niger is one of them.
I'm sure. That's all I've got on this topic.
Yeah, no, it was it's an interesting one. It'll be something to watch for sure.
We learned a little bit about a West African country that we didn't know anything about, aside from the fact that the word looks like the N-word. That's about all we knew about the country beforehand.
Yes. And again, I had no idea that France was so involved in Africa. So.
I didn't either. Like, I thought it kind of went away.
Right. Yeah, you don't talk about it anymore.
Like, you hear, that the UK still has some of their colonies, like any of the countries that still have the little UK flag up in the corner, like Australia and Canada is still kind of technically part of the Commonwealth.
I mean, they were sad when the Queen died.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, but you don't really think about France having that much hold. Maybe that's because people just don't give a shit about Africa anymore.
I think that's it.
That's probably it. So that's all we got. Make sure you check us out all over social media. Let me know what you think. If you've heard anything to speculate on, any conspiracy theories about this thing that's going on in Africa, because it's hard to find because people just don't talk about Africa.
Well, and it sounds like it's because of all the bad stuff that happens there.
Toto doesn't sing about Africa anymore. I don't know. Like,
that's what they need, a new rendition.
They do. The YouTube comments are always open. We got a Facebook forum called the Breaking the Bell forum. And then you can find us on X, formerly known as Twitter, at the handle at Break the Bell Pod. Leave your comments, talk, discuss, all this stuff. Leave your craziest theories on what's going on in Africa. I was trying to figure out, like, was there pushback against, like, green energy or something? Now, one of the things, like, I was going to get back to that one article about when that Bazoum guy took power and he had all these, like, kind of international aspirations. One of the things that he wanted to get more involved in was green energy. And I'm just like, I wonder if he's a WEF plant.
Yeah.
And
sure.
Are these African nations pushing against that?
Oh, I'm sure.
That model.
Yeah.
That Europe just kind of bowed down to, in the US, they're trying to force into it. And they're like, well, let's do it to Africa. And Africa's like, no, fuck you.
Well, imagine, I mean, do you think the United States ever would have gone through the Industrial Revolution if it was behold to green policies? I mean, so imagine being a third world country and you're trying to become industrialized, but now they're saying, no, we got green policies. You guys got a carbon footprint. You got to keep down.
I mean, you can pay the superpowers have developed all this green like technology. You can buy it from them, or you can pay their contractor to come in and do it for you. And they've got patents on that shit too, so you can't develop your own.
So give us your oil and uranium, and we will bring in some wind farms and some solar
you will
panels.
be industrial, like superpowers.
Yes, and we're electric cars. Everybody's getting electric cars.
You see how we did it. You can achieve the American dream too in Africa, or the Western whatever. Just whatever.
Send Greta in. Send her in.
Definitely send Greta in. We got to get out of here. That's all I got for this week. That's all I got on Niger. That is literally all I've ever read about Niger. So
probably never thought you'd say Niger so much in your life.
No, I didn't even know how to pronounce it till today. So I've just always said the N-word. Have a great rest of your week. We will catch you next time. Peace. Goodbye.
The Break the Bell podcast is brought to you by you. So pat yourself on the back, because without you, we would be talking to ourselves. A special thanks to our Patreon members, Justin Zielinski, Remzo Martinez, Stephanie Parker, and T.O. Jacobson. A shout out to our sponsors, Run Your Mouth Coffee, the On the Run podcast, and Goulash Media. If you'd like to help support us, visit patreon.com/breakthebell or buy our garbage at breakthebell.bigcartel.com. Get back here next week and let us continue to invade your ear holes. And as always, never stop talking.